Hello everybody, welcome to our first Everything Rick and Morty live discussion and debate. Today's video, as you can see on the screen, will focus on Rick C-137 throughout Rick and Morty.
Yep.
So, what this series, let's first start off with what Rick and Morty is. I do believe though, if you don't know what Rick and Morty is, or if you are too young to watch Rick and Morty, please stay off this video. Right, do you want to explain what Rick and Morty is?
Yeah. So basically, it's this 14-year-old boy and this old grandpa and his grandpa that goes on adventures. But his grandpa's the smartest man in the universe, who helped other people, other versions of himself, build this place called the Citadel. Where all the Ricks band together.
The basic points of Rick and Morty are Rick's Morty's grandfather. He takes Morty on adventures, and there's infinite versions of their families, and that's literally all we're going to explain. If you go watch Rick and Morty, if you haven't, if you haven't watched Rick and Morty, obviously if you're old enough, go watch Rick and Morty before watching this video, because you are not going to understand anything and we're not explaining everything to you. Okay, I'm saying that in the kindest way possible. So let's begin. First we're going to focus on, what we're going to do is we're going to go on episode order, and we're only mentioning Rick's backstory. We're gonna go back to Rick's backstory throughout this whole thing. We're only going to focusing on Rick this video. We will make videos focusing on Morty, we'll make videos focusing on Evil Morty, maybe Rick Prime, but there's not much to say about him. It might be a short one. Maybe Beth too, but I think we're going to probably cover Beth on this video too, along with Rick's parenting skills, which I think is better than Beth and Jerry's parenting skills. Yeah. So let's just get into it. We're going to start with season 1 episode 9. It's season 1 episode 10 if you include the pilot, but we're not including the pilot. We're not going to talk about the pilot just because it's just an introduction to the show, and this episode is just, I think this episode is just perfect to mention. Although before we mention this one, I feel like we didn't put this on the plan, but I feel like we should mention season 1 episode 7 where they Cronenberg the world, because Rick's attitude to that is just not caring at all, and when Morty's traumatized, he's just like not caring at all, he can't be bothered, and that's something that through the newer seasons he would care a bit. I feel like he'd show a bit of sympathy.
Mhm.
Yeah, but we'll just mention that. There's not much we can say because it's not really that important to Rick. It's more of a Morty episode. Let's just get on with it. Season 1 episode 9, not including the pilot, it's like a lore introduction, isn't it? It's just the Citadel of Ricks is an important thing in that episode.
Yeah.
Where all the Ricks hide from the government, the Intergalactic Federation. Now it's not that there's not much we can talk about. I think it's more of a Morty take charge episode, and then at the end we have Evil Morty showing up. But it's worth mentioning that Rick is. Let's start with Rick's attitude to Citadel, because obviously in his backstory it's revealed that he built the Citadel, but he hates it. So
he was clearly mad.
He clearly doesn't like the Citadel, and that raises questions as to why he built it in the first place. Because,
and that could be explained in future seasons, but
yeah, most likely will be. But why do you think he built the Citadel if he doesn't like it?
I think he built it because he felt so bad at parenting that he just needs something to do to get it off his mind.
I don't believe that's the case, because he didn't have any Beths. He didn't have a Beth. So it can't have been his parenting. I believe that maybe he wanted to originally hide like the other Ricks, but then maybe he got too big and it felt like a government and an alliance and stuff, and he just didn't agree, so he just kind of left. Or I don't know. Maybe there's something deeper, but that I think that's worth mentioning. The fact that he did build it and he doesn't like it, and he does later on destroy it, but we'll get onto that later when we come to it.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to Morty's role in that episode, because although this is not a discussion on Morty, this is a discussion on Rick. Morty's well worth mentioning because it shows. I don't know. It shows Morty. Rick. It shows that Rick originally used Morty to disguise and hide, didn't it?
Yeah.
And he seems quite uncaring towards Morty in this episode. Quite like he's dismissing what Morty's saying. As he does care, obviously, and we all know that, but he's dismissing what Morty's saying. So yeah. A lot of the time, because he also insults Morty throughout of it, and then we obviously have evil Rick come in and evil Morty, but obviously evil Morty's more of like a reveal in that episode. He's not expanded on until season 3. So I don't know what else we can really mention. It's just kind of an episode that says here's all the Rick and Morty lore. And what's gonna be it's just like one of those plot point episodes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, this is another episode I forgot about to add, but that we probably would have skipped past. But the season 1 episode 11 or 10, not including the pilot, it's 10. Bird Person talks to Morty at the end of that episode, and he explains what Wubba Lubba Dub Dub means, and that's like Rick's catchphrase throughout season 1.
And it means that he's in excruciating pain.
Yeah.
And then after they finish that episode, right? He doesn't say it, and Morty thinks that that's because he's healed. For all that, yeah.
Maybe. He doesn't say it, but that shows that he doesn't say it when he's with his grandkids. Now that shows that he cares about them, because the episode like before, he took a replacement Morty slip. He wasn't like he didn't really care about. He didn't show that much care towards Morty's feelings about all the other Mortys being tortured and stuff. He didn't even show like pride when Morty says at the end that he saved him and stuff. He's just like, oh, okay, Morty, shush and stuff. But in this episode, I feel like he bonds more with his grandkids, and that's why, and it's giving him a little light, so that some are included, but some we're talking about Morty because Morty was shown in the last episode, and some is not really.
Yeah.
But it shows he's got a little. They cheer him up. It's basically what this shows.
Yeah.
And another thing to mention, after that episode, when he jumps in the hole to save Morty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they split a part-time.
Yeah,
Like,
and
then get into an argument and pushing them over.
And then he sacrifices himself. And then he says, "I'm okay with this. Be good, Morty. Be better than me."
And then he finds the collar, and then he says, "I'm not fine with this. I'm not fine with this."
No.
But
Yeah, he does, but
Does
that's off topic.
Off topic.
The fact that he's sacrificing more himself for Morty is just, it shows that he cares. It shows, and even if he didn't show much care towards Morty before, because obviously he had just come back for Rick Prime, because obviously he came back as shown in his backstory, which we're gonna keep going back to. It was shown that he came back for Rick Prime. Yeah,
And that and yeah.
So whatever care he was, even if he didn't show he cared, this little scene does show he cares, because he's willing to die for Morty. Now that shows he cares. So we're gonna move on to the wedding scrunches.
Yeah. So basically, in that episode, they get invited. In that episode, at the end, Rick goes off alone without Morty. Says that he's Jerry, turning himself in at the end, so his family can go back to Earth.
Yeah. That's a really important scene. It shows he cares, basically.
Yeah.
And now, you know what? I was going to mention it, but it's more of a Morty thing. We'll mention it when we come to Morty.
Yeah.
Now, the episode after?
The episode after?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, season 3, episode 1. Well,
he takes down the Citadel.
Yeah, takes down the Citadel. When it shows that they're melting his brain, and that he can like put anything in.
Yeah, it shows his intelligence. But the thing to note about this is the backstory part, I think, because he says that the Diane backstory isn't real, but it is.
Yeah.
So he lied about that, and I don't know what else we can really say about that episode, apart from he took down the Citadel, and then obviously got rid of Jerry, because he doesn't like Jerry, but that's not the point. That's not really a Rick thing. That's just, well, it is a Rick thing to do, but we're talking about Rick's backstory and stuff. We're not talking about Jerry. So there's not much we can mention about that, but that's an important little thing. Then we should probably go on to the Pickle Rick episode, because that episode is important, as in the therapy part.
Yeah. So basically, it's that when he arrives at therapy, they see that he has all these parts that he made. He's injured. The fact is that he went to the therapy.
No. The fact is that he says that he doesn't agree with it.
Don't agree with therapy. That's what he doesn't agree with.
Yeah.
On to season 3, episode 9. It shows how bad Rick was at parenting.
It does, yeah. I believe that Beth, although Rick did give Beth her own world, he neglected her, and he wasn't very good at parenting. He wasn't as bad as Jerry and Beth though, but he wasn't very, because in the sense that he did he was. Well, in fact, we'll get onto that in a minute. Beth doesn't believe that he's a good father, does she?
Yeah.
She does not. She says that. She makes that very clear in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
The ABCs of Beth. But then we should go back to his backstory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when his daughter dies, he also murders.
Yeah, he murders Rick, trying to find the Rick that murdered his daughter.
Yeah.
And his wife.
Because although everyone talks about that being his wife, no, it was his daughter too. Obviously it would be his daughter too, not just his Diane. Although Diane's very important, I feel like his version of Beth is too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna move on to the toilet episode because that is very important. Now he meets Tony.
Yeah. He meets Tony, who pooed in his toilet.
Yeah. Tony shits in his toilet, and he's angry at him for it. But then he discovers
that he lost his wife.
Yes. Now this is relevant because Rick lost his wife, so they have something in common. And then Tony's going, "Oh, we can be friends, but Rick isn't open to that. And then at the end, what happens?
He builds something to give him the toilet, but Tony's dead.
Yeah.
And then he sits on it, and he remembers how Tony would.
He sits on it himself, and what happened was he built this thing before Tony died to torture Tony with the toilet, but then he sits on that toilet after Tony dies and mourns Tony. And maybe that's connected to his wife dying too, because Tony was mourning his wife, and then he felt sympathy. Because obviously his Diane died too. His wife died too. Tony's wife is probably not called Diane. If she was, that'd be
super weird.
Yeah. Yeah. So that they're just connected, and then I think we should go on to the ending of that season with the clone bit, because I'm not going to mention Space Beth. I don't think she's that relevant. And the only part I think she's relevant is the fact that he switched his daughters so that he didn't. Because at the end of the ABCs of Beth asks him to decide what she wants to do for her, whether she wants to take off and go into space or stay with her kids and family. And Rick doesn't decide. Rick doesn't actually decide. He just makes a clone and then switches them up and sends one into space. So he doesn't know who she is. Now we're just going to share opinions because
there's not that much more to explain about that episode.
Yeah, I think he obviously felt very bad for about that. Obviously there was also Bird Person coming in and him fighting Bird Person and failing, and then all that friendship stuff. But I don't think Bird Person would be that relevant, apart from he thinks he's a bad friend too. I don't think any of the characters other than Rick are really relevant. So let's just move on to opinions. What did you think about that Rick scene at the end?
I thought it was really sad that he doesn't know which one's his real daughter and which one's the clone, because that would be sad, because I don't know.
It just is, yeah. Yeah. Now, it's just quite depressing. He was quite sad in that episode.
Yeah.
I believe that. Now, what do you think about him being a bad father? Do you think he's a bad father, or do you think he isn't?
Well, he did the switcheroo, sends one of them into space. I'd say he is a bad father.
Yeah, you would? Yeah?
I would, yeah.
So, what's your reason behind that? Is that just the only reason, or is there obviously more reasons? Because
that's basically the only reason.
Because I think you should expand on that if you believe that.
Well, I should expand on that. So
yeah.
I believe that, because if he doesn't know which one's his daughter or not, he'd expect himself to be like a bad father.
Yeah.
He clones one of them. He makes a robot to mix them up. Sends one of them into space. and puts a chip in their neck, so if they ever come back, they'll explode and die.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Now, what about in the ABCs of Beth? Do you think there's a relation there with you think thinking he's a bad father, considering we know how she was raised now?
No.
Well, fair enough. Because what I want to get onto is, I don't think he is. Now, how Beth was raised was Rick Prime. That was not Rick, because obviously Rick Prime was there before Beth. Before Rick, I mean. And so Rick C-137 didn't do that to raise Beth. Like the Fruipyland, maybe the Fruipyland thing was every Rick did that for their Beths. So obviously he knew about Fruipyland, but with all the other stuff, that must have been Rick Prime neglecting her. I don't think that was C-137, because obviously we've got to remember that he only came to that when she was an adult.
Yeah.
Because that's shown his backstory. Now, the switching thing was quite weird and random, and I don't actually get why he did that. But if you ignore that, I think he was a bit of a bad person in that sense. But if you ignore that, the fact that he was one of the Ricks that did care. Because he went through all that to avenge his wife and daughter in his backstory, and killing all them Ricks and becoming an enemy of the Citadel and every Rick around. Well, most Ricks then.
Yeah. There's a video that's live in the Citadel. He teleports into the Citadel, flies around with missiles shooting at the other Ricks, killing them.
Yeah. So him doing all that extreme stuff shows he did care. Now, yeah, let's move on to before Rick's backstory was revealed to us, because all these were before his backstory is revealed. Season 5, episode 8, which is the one where he goes in to try and save Bird Person after that episode, because obviously Bird Person was I don't know. Let's just. He goes back in. Yeah, you go.
Bird Person's an important friend to him. That's probably why he does it.
He goes back in.
He cares about his friends.
He clearly does. Yes. He has a lot of attachments. He goes back in to get Bird Person's mind and save him. Now, I think that all the Diane stuff is important. Obviously, Rick's friendship with Bird Person and the battle with Blood Ridge is very important, but I'm not sure what we can really say about that.
Yeah.
So let's go to the Diane stuff, because all the Ricks, he's fighting Ricks with Bird Person, because Bird Person helps him with his mission to avenge Diane, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Now, and then Ricks are going, you can't, this will not bring her back, and he says he's on more of like an avenge streak, so it shows that they're fighting for Diane, because that's very clearly him fighting for Diane when they say this won't bring her back.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that I find interesting, and is that all the Dianes were erased, which is revealed to us in Unlocked Chicken later on.
Yeah.
So why aren't all the Ricks why aren't all the other Ricks sad? Is it because they've moved on, and Rick just couldn't?
Because some Ricks might have moved on.
Yeah.
And there's probably more Ricks that haven't moved on, and they're like on the same streak of trying to find Rick Prime.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that makes more sense. Yeah. There's just some Ricks didn't, some Ricks did, and Rick C-137 is probably one of the ones that did the most like extreme stuff, since he's an enemy of the Citadel and not all the other Ricks. And obviously he's the first Rick in question when something bad happens at the Citadel. So yeah. And then he obviously meets up with his memory, which is obviously
and he teams up with his memory to try and win back BP's normal mind.
Now, the thing worth mentioning is him on about Morty and adult Beths in there, because let's just because obviously he mentions Morty, and how he moved in with Beth, and then the memory Rick says you're one of those weirdos that moves in with adult Beth. So that shows that he would have never done that. But so maybe Rick was tied to a wall and forced himself to move in to find Rick Prime because he gave up basically.
Yeah.
And then obviously we come to the Crow episode, and then they go to the Citadel and face Evil Morty. So season 5, episode 9 and 10. Now season 5, episode 9 just shows that he leaves Morty, but
because he's saying that the relationship isn't healthy, and the Crows are making him like better and more.
Yeah, that's basically it. Now that is interesting because I don't believe he should have left Morty like that. I felt really bad for Morty in that episode because Morty went through a lot of stuff, and then Rick just leaves him like that. But I think Rick genuinely believed he was doing the right thing. Yeah.
Because it was kind of unhealthy.
It was, exactly. I think Rick genuinely believed I think Rick was doing the right thing in a sense, but I don't think he should have left Morty. I think he should have worked on it. And it felt really sad when that happened.
Yeah.
And then Morty was in tears and he still just left. Like, but
as Morty waved goodbye, Rick smiled slightly and gave a salute before leaving.
Yeah, that hurt. That really did. But let's go back to him recognizing that they have a bad relationship, like they have an unhealthy friendship, because the fact that he recognizes that is just good, and it's good. It's like you're recognizing that, work on it. And I feel like he is working on it through. He does work on it anyway throughout the series. I think it's a lot. His friendship with Morty's a lot better now, because in the sperm episode he says, "Hey, how's your Saturday?" to Morty. He's just genuinely having a conversation. They're not always fighting. I feel like that's what was going on in season 1. They're just friends. He's getting better a bit. You can see it happen throughout the series, but I feel like he instead of leaving Morty, he should have worked on it a bit. But whatever. I mean, he was doing the right thing. He had the right intentions. He just did kind of. I just don't think he should have done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the Evil Morty episode now.
Yep.
Now, we should probably mention. Shall we first? You know what? Let's start with when they go to meet Evil Morty, and Rick knows somehow that Evil Morty is evil. I wonder how he knows that.
I wonder. He might have seen him before.
Maybe he heard stories from the other Ricks that on the Citadel.
While he was building it, and it was done while he was happy. Before the game.
No, because Evil Morty wouldn't have been Evil Morty wouldn't have been there for that, I doubt. So maybe because obviously we've got to remember, while all this stuff in season 3 was going on, Evil Morty was rising up for his campaign to be president of the Citadel. So we've got to remember that. Maybe the Ricks on the Citadel at that time told him. Maybe he just saw through it.
Maybe he was like, how does he know how all of this works?
I don't know. But somehow he knew. So, wow, smart. But also, Evil Morty knew he knew. That was clear.
Yeah.
I want to mention when he takes the food off Morty.
Yeah.
Because he thinks it's going to be poison, so it just shows he cares.
He eats it himself.
It just shows he cares.
When Morty already takes a bite.
Well, yeah, that was a bit pointless.
Yeah.
But it just show he cares a bit.
Yeah.
And then the evil Morty stuff happens and kicks in. We see his backstory. Obviously, his backstory is he's avenging Diane because Rick Prime kills Diane. Yeah, we all know that.
And then they meet Evil Morty, and then Evil Morty's into like tube, which that blocks off bullets and kills all the Ricks and Mortys, and then leaves.
He killed. Now he's Rick. Let's see. Rick reveals to Morty that he only came back because the crows dumped him. Dang, just dang. What can we say about that? That is, I felt really bad for Morty throughout that whole episode, to be honest.
Yes, it was like Rick was gonna stay with the crows forever, but then they dumped him. And
So what could have been if the crows didn't dump him? I don't want to imagine.
Morty would have just stayed there, aged.
Now,
like,
I feel really bad for Morty in that episode.
He tried blackmailing Rick.
He did. He was very upset about that. He was very upset about the crows thing. He was very desperate to see Rick again, and Rick just didn't care. Rick was moving on, Morty wasn't, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then Morty still stands by Rick.
Yeah, it's like Morty forgot about all of that and he wants a new start.
No, I don't. Maybe I feel like it could have been better if he did go with evil Morty. I feel like evil Morty would have offered protection and stuff for.
Because evil Morty smart. Evil Morty would have just told him what his plan was, and if he went, he would just told how he's going to kill the monster and go to the thing.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been easy for him, but he stands by Rick, and then they obviously saved the rest of the Mortys.
That just shows his loyalty to Rick.
No, I don't. This is all like more of a Morty stuff. Let's get back on topic, because I think I've just gone off topic there.
Yeah.
The episode after. Let's just go to the episode after. Space Beth, one of the clones, Space Beth saves Rick
after he takes off.
After they're stranded on the Citadel because they're just stranded there.
After ages of staying there.
Yeah, they were diving, and then they basically let's just mention, like, they go back to their original. They accidentally reset portal travelers, and then they all end up in their original dimensions.
And
Rick goes back to his original dimension where he was trying to take down Rick Prime originally.
And Jerry goes to his original dimension.
Yeah, so does Morty, but we're going off topic. We need to focus on Rick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, no, we're not with Jerry. No, I think Jerry's worth mentioning. Let's start with the voice.
The voice.
Yeah, in Rick's garage. Well, in Rick and Diane's garage. Let's start with that.
He did that to torture himself.
Yeah. Unhealthy healing.
Yeah.
He built a voice that sounds like Diane.
That's always one room away from him.
Yeah, to just make fun of him for not being able to save his family. It's very sad.
He's stuck in a loop infinitely.
Yeah. It's just sad. And then obviously we and then we have like him he just faces it all.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about the summer being mentioned, because he brings up Summer because Summer's gonna get him. He tells Summer to get him out of it all and to save them once they get reset, because she plays an important part in saving them. But he tells the voice that Summer reminds him of Diane. which comes back later on in season 10 and 2.
Yep.
So maybe that's why I feel like he has shown like more connection with Summer as well than Morty. I mean, to be honest though, a lot of people argue
because
yeah,
they normally, both of them, usually just make fun of Summer, like
yeah,
and like, you know, but Rick is actually happy to be with Summer.
Yeah.
And stuff. He respects both of his grandkids.
He respects Summer more clearly. He clearly respects Summer more, which we'll get into later because that is revealed later on. It's shot. He. But I think we can see that if we just look at how he acts around Summer and Morty. It's clear he respects Summer more than Morty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I feel like he doesn't make fun of Summer half as much as he makes fun of Morty. I'm not saying he doesn't at all, because he definitely does. I think he does with the whole family. But with Summer, he doesn't that much as much as Morty.
Yeah.
Now let's mention Jerry.
Jerry?
Yeah. Now, do you want to go on with Jerry?
Right, so basically, Jerry is an example of what Rick could have done. Because Summer Beth passed away when Morty left, and Morty doesn't know that. But Jerry tells him.
Yeah, because obviously Morty goes back to his original universe, and his original Jerry's there, and then it's revealed that Beth and Summer had passed.
Yeah.
But Jerry just moved on, didn't he?
Yeah.
Jerry was obviously, he was heartbroken about it. He was alone, but he wasn't like he moved on. He just tried to move on. It's what Rick could have done, what Rick should have done, and then he didn't.
And it surprised Morty that Jerry's alive.
It did surprise Morty, but that's a Morty thing.
Yeah.
But it's just connection between Rick and Jerry, as in like it's just something they had in common, but they went differently about.
That they both lost their wife
and the child, yes.
Yep.
But yeah, and then Rick Prime comes in at the end of that episode, at the end of this after the credits scene.
And Jerry stabs him in the neck and says fatality.
Yeah, but he regenerates. But that's a Rick Prime thing. I mean, that just shows Rick Prime's power. But I think all the events show Rick Prime's power. He can erase Diane's across infinity. So come on.
He has the Omega device. But then,
I mean, he's no match to Evil Morty, but we'll get onto that with an Evil Morty essay thing. Yeah. Now, let's go on to the one where the season 6 episode 8, where he sympathises with Pissmaster, because you explain.
So basically, Jerry beats up this villain because Rick has these villains on their back who thinks like fighting with him is like a club or something, and Jerry gets a sword, and he's known as a hero, but P-Master killed himself because of Jerry.
Yeah.
And Rick puts on his suit and be's nice to people, saving them.
Yeah.
And he ends up getting an orb. He doesn't want it. He's trying to die heroic. He's trying to die.
He makes a plan to like
fake death.
A fake death for his nemesis.
But Jerry ruins it.
Yeah, Jerry ruins it. Of course, Jerry ruins it.
And then Jerry finds out that
and then
that Rick was wearing the suit this whole time.
And then they all kind of make fun of him for it, which is so. I think it was a nice thing they did. But let's go on.
It was trying to help him.
Yeah, but let's go on to the therapy part.
Yeah.
Because he actually goes to therapy, doesn't he?
He goes to therapy in that episode, yeah.
And then we start to see him kind of accepting it and accepting that therapy's not as bad as he said in the Pickle Rick episode.
And in it, he said his therapist says that he should just ignore them, and then when
he does.
When he puts the suit on, he tells his therapist, and then
it
she
kind of
agrees.
works. Yeah. And it kind of just works, and him ignoring them all kind of works, and he's shocked about it. But he admits he's wrong about therapy. He starts scheduling meetings because that's shown.
And you can tell that he's improved.
Yeah, because the fact that he's sympathising with his nemesis is also something that can tell you that he's improving slowly. Because obviously he's doing all this nice stuff, and then they all have a go at him for it, which I feel so bad for, because I feel like it was quite a nice thing he did, even though he did keep the note about the nemesis killing themselves. It was, I think he had good intentions, and it just shows improvement.
Yeah.
Now, season 6, episode 9, he's all upset about Morty for taking the sword when he didn't want him to, and Morty calls him boring. He's just upset about that.
He replaces himself, and he tries to find Rick Prime.
Yeah, he replaces. I think season 6, episode 9 and 10, he both. Let's just talk about them both together. He replaces himself with a robot because he goes off on his own little. He just to make Morty happy, so that he could go off and find Rick Prime.
But you'll find, if you haven't watched it and you haven't watched this yet, you'd probably find out in a later episode that he replaced himself.
Yeah, he replaced himself. It's revealed to Morty that he's a robot in season 6, episode 10, but it's just that shows that he cares about Morty, because he made a robot to make Morty happy.
As the bot said.
Yeah, Rick bot literally says that to Morty, and then Rick says that he's gonna let Morty help him take down Rick Prime. Yeah, that's just where it leads off.
And he says season 7 taking down my nemesis.
Yeah. He's crazy about it. You can see him going insane throughout the episode, because obviously you can see him slowly getting like frustrated, because Rick Prime is still hard to track. But yeah, that's basically it. It just, he lets Morty in finally, and he's a bit. I feel like he starts being a bit more open with Morty, or he will do maybe.
Yeah.
Now this one's not important, as in like it shows Rick improving or anything. Well, it does show Rick improving in a way, but it just connects with him, because season 7, episode 1. Let's hear from you for this one.
Season 7, episode 1. Right. Wait. Season 7, episode 1. So basically, it's what Rick did, basically, because
what Rick could. It's not like, it's just like something that connects with like Rick.
Yeah, because he's trying to connect with his friend, and
Mr. Poopy Butthole. Let's just mention Mr. Poopy Butthole. His wife dumps him, and then
he hires a predator to watch her.
Yeah, and then he's got a child too, but he deals with that really wrongly.
By stalking her.
He stalks her first of all. He kidnaps his child.
Yeah, and he thinks he can fight off a predator.
And then Rick, when he goes back to try and get Amy back, Rick says it's not a good idea. He doesn't think. I agree with him. I don't think it would have been a good idea. I think Mr. Poopy Butthole should have just moved on, not stalking her. And then obviously Rick learns about like friendship and that. It's just like a little connection, because obviously it's like, I know that Mr. Poopy Butthole's wife isn't dead.
She's just in love with the predator.
Yeah, but the predator dies, but
yeah.
But maybe we'll see her trying to deal with that in a future episode. Maybe in like a cutscene. Maybe we'll see that, and that can. And I just want to
say at the end, the predator tosses him a musket, and Rick mentions that it might be the currency, when it is.
Oh.
I just want to mention that.
Oh, okay then. Okay. Well, let's move on to obviously the big episode,
Oh,
season
no.
7, episode 5, Unwatched
Unwatched
Rickon.
Rickon.
Now, do you like this episode? Let's let you mention some stuff here.
So basically, Evil Morty's running. It shows Evil Morty's backstory and stuff.
Let's skip the Evil Morty parts because we're focusing on Rick.
And then they find his nemesis, and it's like a big fight off, and
yeah, there's like stuff happens. They fight. There's a fight off.
Rick gets took down. Evil Morty walks up, pretending to be Morty, and
takes down Rick Prime
in one shot, which Rick couldn't do.
Now let's mention that Rick is meant to be the smartest man in the universe. Evil Morty just comes in, takes down the guy he was hunting for his entire life, just like that. Wow.
Evil Morty could have found him in 1 second if that was him.
I think he could have, and that shows that Morty's could. I think that
shows that
Rick's aren't as smart as they are made out to be.
That they think they are.
Yeah, that shows that they have an ego. That just shows that people are smarter than them. Evil Morty. Wow.
Creates this like whole story plot, makes fans
just wow.
Wonder.
Evil Morty's storyline is such a smart little storyline.
But obviously Evil Morty won't be in season 8.
He might not be, but let's get on to. He might be, he might not be. We don't know.
But
let's get on.
But the thing is that he traps him, brings Rick in, revives him, and then
now can I mention, Evil Morty didn't take Rick Prime down himself. He lets Rick do it. Now that's just an interesting thing to me to point out, because I feel like Evil Morty would have just took him down himself, but no. Maybe it was just a distraction to get the Omega device, because he ended up getting the Omega device that's the device that erased Diane throughout infinity, by the way.
Yeah.
But I think that's interesting. Now,
and
Rick Prime's death is so brutal.
Brutal, yeah. So basically, Evil Morty revives Rick, and he says, "Knock yourself out," and then while he's getting beaten to death, Rick Prime's just taunting him throughout the whole thing,
having the last laugh against Rick, because even though he's in pain and Rick's taking him down and he can't do anything, it's just his fate. It's very brutal. He's just laughing and going and taunting him, getting the last laugh and last hit over him before Rick finally takes him down. And
after that whole thing, he's just empty inside.
He's left empty.
He's like, what will I do now?
He walks. Now I think the episode placement's important, because everyone thought that it wouldn't happen this soon. But it happened in the middle of the season.
Some people think that he's still alive because it happened too quickly.
No, I don't believe that. I believe that happened quickly on purpose to make people say, was that really it? Because that's what Rick's thinking. Rick is thinking, wow, that's it? What? Rick is empty. Rick doesn't know what to do. He's been doing this his whole life. Imagine how he feels. It's just, he's empty, left empty completely. And then and then Morty, he's left leaning on his family for healing at this point, because Morty's shown consistently trying to cheer him up. He hugs him. Evil Morty has his little speech about, do you feel exactly the same? Yeah, that you should have expected that, or whatever he says. And then he leaves. He's left with Morty and Summer to lean on throughout the episodes.
And I think that's all we can basically talk about here.
No, because the fact that Morty's trying to get him involved is important. It's just, I feel bad, and I feel bad for Rick throughout that. And then we go on to season 7, episodes 6 and 7, where in season 7, episode 6, Morty's he's drunk in the garage. Morty's got his card things.
Yeah,
He's going,
stance.
come on, get on an adventure. Get on an adventure.
He's trying to cheer Rick up because he knows
Yeah.
that Rick feels empty inside after doing this.
Yeah, and Morty's a sympathetic person. Of course he would. And then Rick near the end of the episode, after all the Observer stuff, which we're not going to talk about, it's pointless. Morty, he says he recognises what Morty's doing. He says he appreciates what Morty was doing.
But then they end up going on an adventure.
And then they end up going on an adventure, which is so nice. And then in season 7, episode 7, where he leans on Summer for his healing, and he reveals that he has the Morty's a dog speech, and we'll talk about that with Morty because that's a Morty thing. But the fact that he mentions in that episode that Summer reminds him of Diane again. He's in fact, another interesting point, his intelligence downfall.
Yeah.
Because throughout I feel like he's a bit out of character throughout the rest of the season.
Because he's not thinking straight, because he's like, what shall I do now?
Yeah, he's empty, but he's not thinking straight. He kicks down like a door.
That's locked.
He beats up people to try. I feel like this is just because he's excited though, but he beats up people instead of like. I feel like if he could have probably tracked Summer down in like one go, but now he's just like. I feel like because he's the smartest man in the universe, you'd think he could, but he's just beating up people, going through all this to try and find it. I feel like that's just his excitement. I don't know, but he kind of is on like a character downfall. I feel like his character change is important. His intelligence goes down a tiny bit. Yeah. Yeah, because in season 7...
While Morty has an intelligence upgrade up.
Evil Morty definitely does. Come on.
Yeah.
But
he's the smartest Morty.
But again, that's off topic from me. I think he's the smartest man in the universe. But we'll go on to him in another video. Let's go on to season 7, episode 9, where he gets killed by the Porp over and over again.
Yeah.
You could have found a way around that. Come on. He could have.
He could have.
He definitely could have.
That just shows that his intelligence has gone down.
I think he's gone through an intelligence downfall, but I think he's still obviously very smart, but he's just not thinking clearly. He's just grieving, upset. Season 7, episode 10. We're not going to go on to the Morty stuff. We're only going to mention Rick.
Yeah.
Now, the end of that episode when Rick is real and Morty hugs Rick.
Yeah.
I think we should mention that he was gonna hug him back, because you can see him wanting to hug Morty back, but then Morty backs away because he's scared. Rick obviously feels so like uncomfortable and awkward, because you can see it in his face, can't you?
Yeah.
But what he was going to, you can see that. Now I feel like. In the earlier seasons, he definitely wouldn't have done that. He would have probably thought Morty was really weird. But the fact that he was going to is just, I feel like it's worth noting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
the fact that at the end Rick was about to jump in, takes a picture of Morty out, pins it on the wall.
Oh yeah, that's worth mentioning too, because what happens is Morty says that he saw Diane in the hall, and then Rick walks away with Morty from the hall. He rushes back, but then hesitates.
And then he stops himself from going in, and then
he gets his wallet out instead,
and pulls a picture of Morty out, pins it to it.
Yeah, and then he walks away, and that's how the episode ends. And I think that's an important episode ending.
And that's a good season finale.
I think that Rick would have totally dived in there before, but he didn't.
Yeah, because of therapy.
Maybe it is the therapy that's working. Maybe he's just healing. He's working towards that healing, and we can clearly see it. It might be the therapy. It could be. I don't know if he had any therapy sessions after that. It could be. I think that is part of it.
Because he's trying to heal. Therapy would heal it.
The point is, he's healing. He's not going in for Diane. he's not desperate to see her anymore. He's just accepting it slowly.
He's
And then
past that phase now.
he shows pride in his grandson by taking a picture of Morty out of his wallet. He keeps a picture of Morty in his wallet. That shows he cares. I swear, anybody who says that Rick doesn't care about Morty, there's so much evidence. Oh my goodness.
I bet Morty would not have expected that from Rick.
Yeah. Honestly, I will never ever understand anybody who says Rick doesn't care. And then he pins it on the board to show that Morty went in the fear hole. It's showing he's proud of Morty.
Yeah.
It's just wow, what an ending from Rick and Morty right there. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Now, overall, what's your opinion on Rick as a character? Let's start with that. What do you think of Rick as a character?
Well, I think that he's overall a great character.
Yeah.
With this build up. He's really cool.
Yeah.
And he makes it so much more fun to watch.
He really does, because the episode where he wasn't in it, season 7, episode 8. Oh my gosh,
so boring.
What a flop! I mean, it might have been a bit better if Morty actually spoke a bit more as well, but Morty hardly spoke too. What a flop!
I know.
Anyways, carry on with your overall opinion.
It makes him better to watch. His catchphrases
are so funny.
Yeah. The way that he disrespects Jerry.
I think Jerry and Rick's dynamic is so funny.
I know. What's your opinion?
Well, my opinion on Rick is I think his character's well thought out. I think all the characters are well thought out. His backstory is so cool and intense, and the Citadel thing is mind-blowing. I always have the question, why did he build it in the first place? He didn't agree with it clearly. While he was building it, he looked a bit angry. So,
and he built it just to destroy it.
Yeah, so I wonder why. Maybe he thought it was a good idea at the time, but I think his backstory is such a cool one and a sad one. He's a sad character. It's a deep and cool. It's a cool character to analyze when it's sad. His connection with Morty is very nice to see.
His backstory is super sad.
I think he's a funny character. He's got some nice catchphrases, very nice catchphrases.
He has good friends.
I like seeing episodes where he hangs out with his friends, like when Poopy got his poop back. That's a good episode with his friends. The one where he goes back for PB. BP, sorry.
Bird person.
Yeah. Not PB. PB is Mr. Poopy Butthole. BP, he goes back for BP. Yeah, all that. It's nice to see Rick connecting with people. He's such a cool character. Clearly, it wouldn't be Rick and Morty without Rick C-137.
Yeah.
Wow, just wow. I want to mention, because I just realised I forgot to mention this.
What?
In season 6, episode 1, when Morty when they find Rick's little base, we didn't mention that. And then Morty says to Rick, "If you don't care if you die, why don't you care if I? Why do you care if I die?" And then Rick stops him from jumping in.
Rick stops in.
Yeah, and I feel like that's such a nice scene. But anyway, another nice scene is when Rick kills Mr. Jellybean in that one episode, because we're not gonna say what he did to Morty. It was bad. We can't really mention that. We wouldn't be allowed. But yeah, he's such a cool character, interesting character.
To be fair, I'd see why Morty beat him up. He was weird.
Well, Morty had no choice. He was traumatized.
Obviously. Probably what he looks like.
But yeah, Rick's just overall a good character. What do you think's going to come from him in season 8?
I think he's gotta have a build up in his intelligence.
Hopefully, he'll get his intelligence back. He'll get his personality back. He won't be so empty.
And he keep the jokes coming.
We can see some classic adventures coming in from all the like sneak peeks and stuff that we've seen.
Yeah.
Classic Rick and Morty adventures.
There could also be some future stuff with some of the stuff in the last episodes.
Yeah, maybe a healing episode. Let's see that, a therapy episode again, like a bit of therapy based episode. We didn't mention season 7 episode 3. Reason being, I don't think it's that important. It's just Unity being worried, and then it's just him facing his breakup. I don't think Unity's worth mentioning. I don't think there's much to say about her. Apart from he's just heartbroken.
Just heartbroken that he lost her.
But I think in season 8 maybe we'll have I don't know, some just classic Rick and Morty adventures, hopefully.
Yeah.
So how should we conclude this? What do you? I think we just have really. Rick's a cool character. In conclusion, Rick's backstory is like just.
It just fits him so well.
It's such a sad backstory, but it's an emotional backstory. We all feel bad for Rick. And we all hope he's gonna heal, and we all want. And
in his original spaceship, he has the normal voice of Beth, but not Beth, Diane.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention that either. That's
but then in his spaceship now, it's like a robot version, voice.
No, yeah, that's a good point. We didn't mention that either, did we?
Yeah.
He makes his car sound like his dead wife, which is sad. Yeah, we're gonna hope for some healing. Let's hope I think the next season's gonna focus a lot on his healing. We're gonna see some improvements. Yeah. Thank you for watching our first Rick and Morty discussion and debate for live. We hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, please let us know, because then we'll do a Morty one, because we are definitely going to do a Morty one. Yeah. I feel like, depending on how many views this gets, if we don't get many, we're just going to do a Morty one and probably leave it. But if it gets quite a few, we'll discuss some more things. Maybe we'll discuss Evil Morty too.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning into the debate. Thanks for listening to our stupid debate. It was quite unscripted, apart from like we had episode titles written down, so if it's bad, we're sorry.
Because we
were kind of unscripted, but yeah. Let's thank you for watching. Bye.
And
we'll see you later. We'll see you in the next TH Live. Thank you for having me on TH Live, Tommy.
You're welcome.